Final Friday in the month of April, and for the current trading week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. We're left with just one day in the month. That will be on Monday. Then we effectively get done with the first month in the second quarter. Welcome our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. This is your Business Morning with me, Bolson Omofai. Let's start the show by balancing the books of the Federation. The Accountant General, Ahmed Idris, yesterday says the country's gross statutory revenue for the month of March was 480.59 billion naira. If you're interested, just take a pen and paper and write down the numbers and try to balance the books as well with me. The country reported a net revenue that was down by 77.34 billion naira. The figure we posted in the month of February was 557.94 billion. So we were just about half a trillion in February. Then that came down to about 480.59 billion naira last month. So where does the money come from, really? We had crude oil export sales that went down 13%. We suffered about $33.58 million in crude oil export sales in the month we just finished. We finished 4 weeks ago. That was March. We're done with April as well, isn't it? Then we have revenue from oil royalty. That's the money companies pay to the Nigerian authorities for doing the business in Nigeria. Companies' income tax, what you call the CIT, and import duty that are paid to the Customs and Excise Department. All that numbers moved up very decently in the month we are reviewing. So, at the end of the meeting yesterday of the Federal Allocation Committee, or what is simply called FAC, the three arms of government shared 626.82 billion naira. Meantime, the Accountant General of the Federation also provided further details that we currently have $1.83 billion in the country's excess crude accounts. That amount, that portfolio went down slightly, again, because of the controversy around the president's or the executive's unilateral decision to take about $500 million to buy some planes. That is still a subject of discussion on the street. But within the ECA, we have about $1.83 billion left. Meantime, the Accountant General says the revenue reconciliation meeting is still ongoing with the NNPC, which is the State Oil Corporation, in relation to allegations that the NNPC underpaid the government the sum of 12 billion naira. Let's go to another very volatile issue this morning. We're trying to discuss the subsidy blues with the NNPC. This is not news to any Nigeria, but what may really be news is what the legislative, the National Assembly is doing. The Senate Committee on Public Accounts is now telling the NNPC, and listen very carefully, one, to stop the payment of petrol subsidy. Number two, clear the arrears to marketers. That is the outstanding money. And then number three, return 216 billion naira. That's about $707 million to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. The Senate Committee on Public Accounts says that the NNPC illegally, or made these quote-unquote illegal payments last year as subsidy payments, or what you call under recovery. It gets a little bit very confusing, even for me, but let's try and break it down. That 216 billion naira, where is the money? How did we arrive at that? Just a second. Meantime, the Senate also recommend appropriate sanctions for NNPC officials who perhaps carried out those quote-unquote illegal payments of $707 million US. And the Senate also ordered the Office of the Auditor General to carry out what you call a full audit of the State Oil Corporation, NNPC. The Senate President, when the committee members have spoken, had a few things to say about the subsidy blues at the NNPC. There had been, of course, there had been appropriation for fuel subsidy. It stopped briefly. But now the NNPC is using the absurd words operational cost to justify this expenditure. And we all know this is not operational costs, end of quote. The committee, the Senate yesterday says the differential, or what you call the under-recovery of 26 billion taken by the NNPC as a loss last year amounted to 216 billion. And the NNPC paid itself that differential subsidy, but described it as operational costs. Very interested how we're going to unravel and unpack that. Meantime, some good news if you think we have a lot of not so sweet news this morning. There will be the Petroleum Resources looking at 2 modular refineries coming on stream, at least by the end of 2018. The 2 modular refineries will be built in, have been built in River State and Delta State. We have a capacity for 7,000 barrels, and they're using Russian refining technology. According to the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Nigeria is looking at 38 refinery licenses has been issued for private investors to build and operate. And then about 10 of this, according to the Petroleum Ministry, are at advanced stage, and they've gotten permissions to build those refineries. Let's talk about NIPOS. If you haven't posted letters recently with everyone using Instagram and email and whatever, now you'll be surprised how much Nigeria Postal Service is making. Last year, you may think NIPOS doesn't exist. Yes, they do. And they made 20.62 billion naira last year. You think there's no money? Hold on a second. Let's break it down for you. Take it very slowly. This money, 20.62 billion, posted by NIPOS last year as revenue to the government. This was how it came in. Core operations, 7.04 billion naira was made. In electronic stamp sales, 13.58 billion naira. So let's break it down. Bring on the next page. Then you got pen and paper. You want to see how the money comes through. NIPOS reported that its speed post, what you call the expedited mail service, brought in 1.58 billion. Means folks still post letters and packages, in case you don't. Then from selling stamps, how many folks on the street still remember stamps anyway? Can't remember the last time I saw one. NIPOS made 1.33 billion naira. And then in terms of parcel clearance and delivery to folks, that brought in 1.28 billion naira. And then for those who are doing international mail service, that's 715.8 million naira. And if you're the NIPOS says bulk postal service brought in about $500 million. That's 537.06 there for you. Then for folks renewing and buying new post office boxes, what they call the POB and the PMB, if you remember, that's 448 million naira was made last year. And the selling of stamps and other tax items, that's about 361.4 million naira. And I think we're getting to the end of that now. It's only a very long list. Then you have the premises leasing. The NIPOS leasing its premises for other users. The company, the agency is still owned by the government, made 172 million naira. And then a very nice amount of 601 million naira came in from miscellaneous operations.